Rules are rules, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Hello, welcome back to Gasbbuteo Tabletop Football, where today I'm going to talk about Gasbbuteo Rules. And what I mean by that is the way that I play the solo play game here at Gasbbuteo Stadium. Now, little disclaimer, I am not claiming any of the things that I do are in any way better than traditional Subbuteo rules. I'm not saying you should change your game. You can play the game how you like. I'm just going to explain how I do things and how I try to sort of recreate a fun version of watching a football match. And there's going to be no order as such in which I do this. It's literally going to be as I remember how I do things. I will put them in little sections and we'll see how many episodes we can get through it. And if you want to, if that's of interest to you, you can watch them all. And if you want to adopt them in your play, also you're more than welcome to take those rules on. So I've got a box of odd figures there. We're going to be using them today. And I think the first thing we should do is just look at the approach I've taken to using these solo play keepers. This is a solo play keeper. I'm a big fan of these. I like them. I've used them for a while. I think they're very good at simulating stoppages when the ball hits them. And it really gives a sort of good recreation of a goalkeeper stopping a ball. They've got a nice weight to them, and it makes a hell of a lot of difference playing a solo play game with them rather than using a traditional sticked goalkeeper. If you remember way back in the days of Gasbbuteo, I did experiment with stick goalkeepers with some weight on them, but when I found the solo play keepers, they really just surpassed the sort of realism of him punching a goal away, because they really will reflect the ball away if they're hit with some force. Now, how do we operate in during play? Now, very different from normal figures, where if you're an attacking team, you've obviously got, each figure's got 3 flicks before you have to move to a different figure. With this guy, I always say the goalkeeper, with him, his 6-yard box, has unlimited movement. So you can pick him up and move him at any point in the game and move him around. You want to move him 100 times, you want to move him 1 time, you want to move him here, there. You don't have to flick him, you can pick him up and you can move him anywhere. Now, obviously, although you have the freedom to move this figure wherever you want and whenever you want within the 6-yard box during the play, they're not particularly mobile for flicking. I mean, you could flick them, I guess, but they're not really, don't have the accuracy of a normal tabletop football or Subbuteo figure for instance, taking a goal kick. So what do we do with goal kicks? Well, that's where we employ something you're all something we're all very familiar with, and that is a kicking keeper. It really doesn't matter what figure you use for a kicking keeper, as long as you're happy and comfortable with that. I've got some dedicated normal Subbuteo tabletop football figures. Generally have one in a team, so you can always keep that team's goalkeeper just to one side and he's going to act as the kicking keeper. Now, how does that work in play? So in the course of play, you can of course only have one goalkeeper on the pitch, and what I try to sort of emulate is that effectively these 2 chaps are the same person. So there can only be one of them existing at any one time. So if your keeper is in the 6-yard box, that's fine. He can move about wherever he wants. But if you need to take a goal kick, you have to remove him from the pitch, just stick him on top of the net, and then it means you can bring on your kicking keeper. He's just inside that 6-yard box, so you can place him in, move him around wherever you want, as long as he stays in there, and he can take the goal kick. Once his job is finished in that role, you then take him off and replace the solo play keeper in that 6-yard box. Now, sometimes obviously you may encounter a situation where the football is not in the 6 yard box. It's not on the edge of the 6 yard box. It's in fact in the wider penalty area, so the penalty box. Now, how are you going to get your keeper, if they're constrained to the 6 yard box, to that ball to kick the ball away into safety? Well, it's a very similar situation, and that is using the kicking keeper. So here's the situation. The football is in the penalty area. It's not in the 6 yard box. Your keeper wants to boot that away into safety. Much like taking a goal kick, you remove the solo play keeper, and then you can place your kicking keeper anywhere in that penalty area to take a kick of just booting the ball away really to safety. And once that is completed, you place your kicking keeper back to his little storage position, and your normal keeper comes back into the 6 yard box. Now, all that seems simple enough, but what happens when you have one of them rare situations where you actually want to get the keeper up into the field of play? So you could be the clock could be running down, you're 1 goal down, you go in for that draw, or maybe you just go in for a winning goal and you want that extra man up the pitch. What do you do then? So, desperate times have occurred and you need the goalkeeper to be playing as an infield player. Very simply, you remove your normal static keeper. The kicking keeper goes anywhere in that penalty area, just like he can do if he was pushing the ball away somewhere, and then he moves into the field of play to attack the ball. You now have an extra man on the pitch, but you haven't got a goalkeeper. Your goalkeeper's there, so he's playing along with his teammates. Whilst he's in play, the normal rules of figures of Gasbbuteo apply to him. So if a ball comes near him and he wants to have a little run on the ball, he's got 3 flicks before it has to move to someone else. He's subject to all the same rules as the infield players, such as if he hits another player, there could be a free kick. If he hits the ball out, obviously it's going to be a throw-in. All the normal rules will now apply to him as if he was an infield player. Now, that may lead to the extraordinary situation, of course, of your goalkeeper being up here ready to take a shot on goal. It's a goal scored by the goalkeeper. But of course, during those actions where he's an infield player, I do appreciate there's not a full complement of 11 players each side on the pitch. But while that's going on, your goal is completely undefended. You have no goalkeeper here. You can't put him back. So if that goal didn't go in and it was an attack, you've got to be very quick in removing that keeper and making sure that your solo play keeper is back there. And remember, this guy has to come off first before you can place your static keeper back in the 6 yard box. And just so we're very clear going forward with this, 2 keepers on the pitch at one time, referees coming over, that's going to be either a warning, a yellow card, or if you've got to that stage, a red card sending off. Now, what happens if your keeper does get sent off? I don't think that's ever actually happened in any of the matches here, but it's always useful to have some sort of rules in place for that. So, something has happened, everyone's complaining about it, the refs come over, your goalkeeper has ended up with a red card. What do you do? It's very simple. This is a manifestation of a goalkeeper, so effectively it could be any figure. This is your kicking keeper, so this is your sort of identified goalkeeper. If he gets a red card, he's off. He's off the pitch to go wherever it goes. And your kicking keeper, who is normally down here, has to be replaced by one of your infield players. So this is effectively your kicking keeper. He's now restrained to the kicking keeper rules. He can come on as an infield player, but obviously whatever happens, as soon as he comes on, the manifestation of a keeper has to come off. So you've got to be very careful what you're doing. You're effectively a man down. But you still can't have 2 keepers on the pitch. That can't happen. So as soon as he comes into play, out of that sort of storage position, this keeper has to come off. You're down a goalkeeper. He's on the pitch somewhere. So briefly mentioned there yellow and red cards, and that's the next thing we're going to talk about. So a little bit of refereeing, in particular refereeing with yellow and red cards. So in regards to refereeing, I've basically got two systems of applying yellow and red cards, and in fact warnings. So we'll get to that in a moment. So basically the first system is the normal one, which is mostly used where I use a particular referee. That's a guy on a black base with a green shirt, and he has a matching refereeing linesman team. And then we use a bit more of a jokey one, and that's called the harsh ref rules. Now, starting off with the normal ref rules, effectively each team gets 3 chances. So that's how they do it. If you cause an infraction, and that's usually by hitting an opposing player when you flick the figure before touching the ball, so effectively you've committed a foul. The first time you get that, effectively your team gets a warning, not the individual figure, the team. So it doesn't really matter who commits that infraction or which figure it is, that's your warning. If you do it a second time, you get a yellow, and then if you do it a third time, you get a red card. Now, I used to say that the red cards were a straight sending off, but what I do now is use the yes and no coin, which I will show you in a moment. And effectively, I toss that coin, and then the decision on that red card, which is basically your third chance gone, means whether one of your figures is being sent off. And it will be the figure that caused the third and final infraction. Now, if you score a yes on that, the figure goes off. You are down a man in play. If you get a no, you effectively get an extra chance. So the no means that your player can stay on the pitch and carry on playing. But if your team commits one more foul, then it's a straight red and he's straight off. Now, harsh rules. This is the yes-no coin. Now, as mentioned in the normal rules, this comes into play when you reach the red card level. So you've had effectively 3 infractions, and then on that third one, you toss this coin. If you get a yes, your player is off, and if you get a no, you effectively gets like a 4th chance. Now, with the harsh rules, the yes-no coin comes into play straight away. There is no warning. If you commit an infraction, the coin is tossed. If you get a yes, you're off, it's a red card. If you get a no, you stay on. Next time you cause an infraction, the yes-no coin is tossed again. And that way, obviously, that is a much, much harsher way of doing it. It means you could lose several players. If you have 3 infractions in a game, you could get 3 yeses, that's 3 players sent off. You could be lucky and you get 3 no's, in which case they stay on. But it is much more of a gamble, so you've got to be much more careful where you're flicking your players. Now, obviously, those harsh ref rules make the game a little bit comical. So it's not for all games. You know, you want it to be fun, but you also want it to be fair. And with the harsh ref rules, you start knocking players off the pitch in those sorts of numbers, it's really got to sort of descend into chaos a little bit. So I tend to stick to the normal ref rules. Now, we've talked about goalkeeping here, and we've talked about the yellow and card refereeing rules. And I think that's quite a lot that could cause a little bit of debate if you've never seen any of the Gasbbuteo League matches. So I think we'll leave that there for this episode. And until next time, up the gas.